Today we are here at Clyde Peeling Reptiland, one of my favorite places to go to for interviews. So, let's go see what they have going on. Welcome back to my animal education series. Today I'm here with Clyde Peeling from Clyde Peeling Reptiland. Hello.
Hi.
What do we have here?
This is the Eastern Diamondback. It's remarkable how many people think we have diamondbacks in Pennsylvania. We don't. The Eastern Diamondback is primarily northern Florida, Alabama, up into South Carolina, and it is said to be the largest venomous snake in North America. They have occasionally, and this would be a genetic freak, but they've occasionally been measured in the neighborhood of 8 feet, maybe an inch or so beyond that. The second largest would be the Western Diamondback, which looks very similar, except that it's more of a sandy color, not quite as bright as the Eastern Diamondback. This is probably one of the 10 most dangerous snakes in the world. And I say that not because the venom is necessarily the most toxic drop per drop, but because they are very large, they have long retractable fangs, and they can sink the fangs deep into the tissues of their prey and unleash a fairly large quantity of venom. So, you know, a bite from a big Eastern Diamondback is certainly a life-threatening bite and would require medical attention.
As many people probably know, with rattlesnakes, they have the rattle at the end of the tail. So what do they use that for?
Well, the rattle probably evolved because any large animal that would approach an animal this size, a small animal, and step on him would be a potential danger. And many snakes, not every snake, but many species, when they become nervous, when they feel the vibrations of a large animal approaching, their tail begins to vibrate. So there might be a selective pressure to have the last scale on the tail kind of hang on there, and then the next time the snake sheds, he has another segment of that last scale, and eventually you have a whole string of these things that when the tail shakes, they click against each other and they produce the noise which we hear when we hear a rattlesnake. It's somewhat of a warning, although it probably isn't intentional on the snake's part. It's more of an expression of nervousness, and it works out as a warning. Sometimes if you're approaching the snake and you hear the rattle, you're going to avoid him. You and the snake can't possibly do each other any good, so he'd like to stay away from you, and obviously if you have any sense about you, you'll want to stay away from him.
What do they use as coloration for in the wild?
That's probably a cryptic coloration. In this situation, it may not look like it would blend him in with the environment, but if you see this snake in a bunch of palmettos in North Florida, with light kind of filtering down through the palmetto leaves, it might be very difficult to see this animal. So I would say, in most cases, with most rattlesnakes, it's cryptic coloration. It's an attempt to blend the snake with its surroundings.
What is your favorite thing about this snake? What is your favorite thing about this snake?
I guess I don't look at things and think of them as favorites. I look at the whole animal, and I'm amazed by the fact that evolution has basically produced an animal like this. In fact, he's probably more deadly than he needs to be. There's such a thing as an arms race. For example, king snakes are innately immune to rattlesnake venom, and they occasionally eat other snakes. So the rattlesnake has very toxic venom, probably more toxic than it needs. The king snake develops more immunity to the venom. The venom gets more toxic over many generations, and that's what happens when king cobras, for example, they eat other snakes, and it takes a lot of powerful venom to kill another snake, and same with this guy. Some animals have evolved an immunity.
What do these snakes eat in the wild?
Diamondbacks, adult diamondbacks probably primarily live on rabbits. And although he couldn't consume, let's say, a full-grown rabbit at this size, when they get much larger than this, maybe body weight, twice this size. They can handle a pretty good sized rabbit.
What do they eat when they're younger?
They start out probably with small rodents and birds, and as the snake grows, the size of the food animal gets larger. Ideally, in captivity, we prefer to feed them many small meals as opposed to one large meal, and the reason for that is once they consume a large meal, they end up with a big lump in the snake, which immobilizes him, and he's vulnerable to a predator because he can't move very quickly. In captivity, it's much better just to feed them small meals. You don't have the concern if the snake gets excited, he might regurgitate his meal, which is not a pleasant thing to clean up. So, but in the wild, they'll take whatever they can get and what's available. And they don't eat on a regular basis in the wild. They're basically animals that have to depend on luck to a great extent. They position themselves maybe near a path where rodents frequent, and they wait days, sometimes weeks, until the right size animal comes by where they can reach out and strike it.
What kind of environment can you find these snakes in?
Well, primarily diamondbacks live in palmettos. You'll find them in other areas, but that's probably their main habitat. Low-growing palmetto plants.
If you guys enjoyed this week's episode, don't forget to leave a big thumbs up down below. Subscribe to my channel. Come back next week for more animal education.